Hi, and welcome to Astrology and Earth Magic. I'm Jen, and today we're talking about Jupiter moving into the sign of Leo later this month. So we are coming off a very beneficial conjunction with Venus and Jupiter. And this was on Tuesday, so yesterday. So I'm filming this on Wednesday. So this conjunction of our two benefics, Jupiter in its exaltation in the sign of Cancer. So hopefully this really brought you a nice day filled with maybe no stress, a lot of love, maybe even some good fortune. I got up pre-dawn to hopefully be able to take a video to show you guys what the conjunction looks like coming up before the sun. But living up here in the woods surrounded by trees and mountains, just couldn't get a visual on it whatsoever. So I did do some outdoor yoga, some sun salutes facing the east, just for a little early morning pick-me-up. So then my husband and I last night, we did what's called an abundance bundle, and this is for manifesting whatever you want, really. This one was for abundance, this one was for good fortune. Thought we would use that, so we bundled that up and we tossed them in the fire to hope it comes true. So here are our bundles made for the Jupiter and Venus conjunction, which is the most auspicious of all conjunctions you can have, especially when Jupiter is in the sign of Cancer, which is in its exaltation. So these bundles are manifestations of abundance and love and whatever we're trying to grow towards or to grow in our lives. So we wish good fortune to both of us and to everybody that we love. Oh, did I miss? We'll see what happens. So Jupiter will make its ingress into Leo on June 30th. But first, a couple days before, it will come into a sextile. Well, Mars will come into a sextile with Jupiter. And that's right before leaving Taurus. So they'll both be at the end of their signs and before Mars moves into the sign of Gemini. So I look at this like it's a building, maybe even like an overwhelming excitement, preparing for what's to come, because there is so much going on, so much energy on the horizon that's coming our way. And what Mars in Gemini looks like to me is really just digging up that information, maybe even to use as a tool or as a weapon. So against, to take down those, maybe that got too far up, so we're coming up on this age of disclosure with Jupiter moving into Leo and this Mars in Gemini. I think in the next couple months we are going to see a lot of those in power again come falling down, and we've been seeing this quite a bit. But then somebody will be also stepping into the spotlight to kind of take their place. But I think that we really need to take advantage of these positive aspects while we can, because we got a big month coming up next month with the 250th birthday of the United States. And then after that, we have eclipse season coming up in August. So lots of stuff going on, lots of drama to come. So this month, a little bit nicer. Can't have a better conjunction than Venus Jupiter. So hopefully you found a little bit of peace this month and not quite so much craziness and so much stress. So Mars sextile Jupiter encourage us to be motivated, to go forward with confidence and to not give up. We are confident, enthusiastic about these future visions that we have. Maybe you have a I am not going to fail, I am going to do this attitude. And that is a great attitude to have when you're making a big change or when you're seizing an opportunity that's been handed to you. When this is happening in your life, so if you have your chart pulled up, you want to see what area of your life this is happening in. And we're going to go through all the signs at the end of this video, so stay tuned for that. You may find in these areas, good fortune, improvements, new opportunities, and new opportunities for yourself to just stand out and, get that recognition. But also you want to beware not to get too cocky or overbearing, because Jupiter is that big gas giant and can be very presumptuous. In the second half of this video, like I said, we're going to look at how this is going to look for you, this Jupiter and Leo, through each rising sign. So stay tuned, and I'll also tag it by the times down at the bottom in the comments. But first I want to get to know the history of this transit. So on June 30th, again, this is when we have Jupiter moving into the sign of Leo, and it will be there until July 26th of 2027. Jupiter spends about a year per sign, so 12 years to go, full rotation around the entire zodiac. Jupiter is one of the social planets, so themes revolving around things happening in society, growth, expansion, travel, exploration, religion, a desire for knowledge, and an expansion to really all the above. And this can, how this can look in various areas of your life. Jupiter can also be that moral compass, really just trying to keep you in check. Think about I think it was on Bugs Bunny, they used to have the angel guy and the devil guy on the shoulders, and you'd be listening to one, and one was your conscience, and then one was that temptation. This is a lot to do with Jupiter, because Jupiter is kind of that moral compass. So your conscious, your spirituality, you're trying to be that good person, trying to be that righteous person, but then we have that devil on your shoulder, because Jupiter also is that expansive. Ooh, got a little bit windy. So it's expansive in that it can be that devil, it can be that temptation, it can be that I want more and more, and this isn't enough, because good fortune, luck can be good, of course, but it can also lead to issues if it gets too far. You hear this with people that win the lottery, and it just gets to be too much, and they don't know how to handle it, and just crazy things. So you like good fortune, but you also like to have it in within reason and control, and you want to keep control of yourself. Jupiter in Leo also shows leadership. So the lion, that is that leader of the pride. This is also having faith and confidence in yourself. You want to be recognized. You want to gain that respect and adoration of others, and have them look up to you, maybe like a leader, or maybe just as like a mentor. You can also be, that Jupiter in Leo is very charismatic, charming, and wants to really be that sun shining, to be that one that, with that charisma, with that charm, to gain kind of like a nice group, leading your flock, and they're just kind of following you along and listening to what you're saying. And it does, because of that charisma that comes along with it, with this Jupiter in Leo, you can make others feel that they are valued and they are recognized and worthy. You can be helpful in providing people with help and guidance to those in need of this, that might feel lost, that might need that light to guide them, and you could be that light for somebody. But again, this increasing confidence and overwhelming desire to be that center of attention, to be that sun that people revolve around, to be that leader. It can lead to egomania, self-importance, arrogance, and even narcissism. So let's go back to past Jupiter dates and get a glimpse of how this may play out for us now. So, and also you want to think about, when I'm saying these years, try and think about what was going on in your life at this time that might have been that growth, that might have been that, that abundance, that might have had those opportunities come knocking, good fortune things, maybe something good, pleasant happen to you that really just kind of stands out. Just really optimistic themes, positive themes. So the most recent was July 2014 to 2015. Before that just happened to be when I met my husband. So that was pretty positive. And then before that was August of 2002 to 2003. Before that was mid-August of 1990 to 91. I graduated high school, so that was pretty exciting and pretty beneficial to me. It was a little bit before that, so it doesn't really count, but just saying. And then before that was September 1978 to 79. And prior to that one, 66, 67. So you see where I'm going. It goes back 12 years. So 2014, 2002, 1990, 1978, 1966, and then prior to that, 1955. So again, what in your life stands out as, places that you might have grown as a person, places that you might have had some good opportunities come your way, maybe some help, maybe some mentorism, where you've learned something really exciting, maybe went on a trip to a place that really becomes special to you. So you kind of look back and maybe you don't have much that happened before because you're younger. So maybe this is kind of that building, and the themes that you might have coming up might be themes that will happen with this transit for years to come. So I dug into some of the history of these dates, and I found some really similar themes that about somebody standing out who came out as a leader, a spiritual leader, precisely, for most of them except one, and being that shining light that people need during those tough times in their lives. So what I found was Jupiter in Leo can point to the rise of a cult leader. Stay with me here, folks, because I'm going to wrap it all up. So now, this is a cult leader. Ego expands. This can be philosophic or religious leader, those Jupiterian themes, and can gain the trust and admiration of those in need of hope and acknowledgement. But the shadow side of this could bring those negative effects. So let's look back at some of the people that I found that happened during these transits. So anyone that knows me know that I have a weird fascination for cults, probably dating back to reading about Charles Manson, the Branch Davidian cult, and just all, I'll watch any show on a cult. And I made a couple videos a couple years back about cult leaders and the astrology of a cult leader. David Koresh for one, and Jim Jones the other. And I can link them up here. I'll link them both, and then I'll actually link them at the end as well. So in our Jupiter Cancer video that last year, when Jupiter ingressed into Cancer, I can link that up here as well too. It's about coming together in crisis. So that Jupiter in Cancer is coming together for protection. So we're putting on that shell, but we have that soft underbelly. So we're coming and kind of just joining as a group. What they say, you're better with a group than by yourself. So kind of like, the bundle of sticks. It's you can't break it when there's a bundle of it. If you have one, easier to break. So that's that Jupiter and Cancer, is that coming together in a crisis. And definitely check that video out. There was a lot of similar themes about wars going on, and we are in the middle of a war now, but it was coming together after something tragic happened. And so we've seen a lot of just disturbing things in the news lately, and lots coming out. So maybe this is, that kind of coming together in that crisis. You want to feel protected because you are vulnerable, and that's where that Cancer is. Because you're vulnerable, you want that group to protect you. So this leader brings a unity, a feeling of inclusion. So now that Jupiter's moving into Leo throughout history, this this leader gives you that protection that you're craving, that feeling of inclusion. So you're in a group, so you're not just by yourself. And this group begins to form with others going through the same similar issues. And when Jupiter, like again, moves into Leo, it expands, it gains people's trust, it gains their admiration, and with that charisma and charm can really project itself to be that sun that people want to follow. Followers embrace this community that's given to them with these like people that, you know, they have no judgment, and, you know, we have this leader that is just promoting love and, you know, unity and all this good thing. You know, so they trust in this, and through history they have trusted in this, and they do anything to follow this leader. You know, even relocating to be with him, and these new morals and ethics that this new leader provides. So wouldn't be surprised if maybe Jesus was one of these. I wouldn't say he was a cult, but he had this following, and he had these group that just followed him around, and they wandered all over the place. It was and he was that spiritual leader that led his flock. And so I don't know his birthday. I don't know, you know, the exact dates, but I'm thinking there's a Jupiter in Leo somewhere in there when he was really being, you know, looked at like that huge beacon of that sun, you know, that's coming out, and, you know, that worried people, but it also, you know, created a whole movement. So anyway, enough about that. But again, there's that shadow side. So this leader's ego swells, and they want more and more. So this is where you see that Jupiter wanting that expansion, wanting more power, wanting to gain more power, expanding rules, even becoming more and more extreme, dominant, and exploiting the vulnerability of the people that are following him or her, but these are mostly him. Leo is that fixed fire, and they will stop at nothing to stay in power. They want to, you know, they live for this. This is, you know, what fuels their fire, is being that person that people worship and people look up to. So remember, that is that gas giant. So it just grows and grows, and it's just knowing all, preaching their truth to their flock, and they're also the first to condemn. So going back, we're going to start with the first transit that I went back to in 1955. So this was Jim Jones. So this is when Jim Jones actually founded in 1955 during a Jupiter in Leo transit, is when Jim Jones founded the People's Temple during this transit. And this is when these followers, and they actually moved for him. They moved, I think, to an island. I can't remember where it was anyway. But he's actually kind of shows up in two of these, because the second time he is predominant is the 1978 transit, and that's when he led his followers to drink the Kool-Aid that ultimately brought them their deaths. And so, you know, he led them to their fate because they did anything for him. I think that some of them didn't want to do it, but others kind of forced them to do it. So it just shows that these followers would do anything for this, their son, for this, their, and he gained so much power that people actually, you know, killed themselves for him, because they wanted to die with him, and he did the same thing. So he died. So he came to power during the 1955 transit, and then his whole flock pretty much, and himself, died during the 1978 transit. So the next transit, the one in 1967, we saw the rise of Charles Manson. And this is when Charles Manson began gaining his followers during this 1967 transit, ultimately getting them to murder for him. You know, and it's likely due to LSD use, this kind of thing, but it's that they'll do whatever he wants them to do. And, you know, they look at him like he is their God. They just sit and like worship him. And you see, even when they were in court, they shave their heads. They're saying, you know, they got these swastika things on their heads, and just like he did. And so they would do anything that he kind of told them to do, and they just were their followers. And you can see how, you know, his kind of craziness, even though that charisma and that charm and that promising of love and peace and happiness and unity brings these people that have otherwise issues, that maybe they're not close with their families, that they're living on their own. They went and moved with him into this commune in the middle of nowhere, and, you know, really followed them to murdering people, multiple people. So that was the 1967 transit. So then we move a little bit forward to, you know, like I said, the 1978, we saw Jim Jones leading his followers to their death. So that was the main thing I saw point out in that one. So then the next transit after that was in 1990. And this is when David Koresh was recognized as the leader of the Branch Davidians. And they would ultimately, him and most of his followers, there was some that got out, but they would ultimately die in a fight that there was with the government. Alcohol, tobacco, firearms went, because they had heard that there was like a overabundance of guns, and that there was also, you know, that child sexual activity going on, and that, you know, things weren't quite kosher. Also, and so they all ended up dying that way, except for a lot of the children, some of the children that did get away, and I think some of the adults did get out also. But he had let these people to believe that whatever he says was pretty much gospel, and he's had people that were married stop being married, and he would marry them, and underage people, and they were all just like, okay, if that's what you say, then we're just going to go along with this. And no matter what, because he had that charisma and he had that charm about him, and he had just that way about him of just making people feel important and loved in their own way, people that otherwise probably didn't get a lot of that attention. So he gave them that, what they were missing. He gave them that unity and that comfort and that protection. Ultimately, it got them killed. But yeah, so you can see how this gas giant kind of expands things, blows things up. And you want more and more and more. So this can be the shadow side. So moving on then to the 2002, we actually saw two cults come up to an extent during this 2002-2003 transit. So the first was when Warren Jeffs was named leader of the FLDS, the Mormon religion, FDLS. So he became kind of the head. I think his father ended up passing away. But then again, like so many of these leaders do, he was having relations with these underage girls and marrying them, and ultimately this led to him being arrested and put in prison, where he still is today. I think he's still alive. Also, we saw Nexium get its start in 2003, still during the transit. So Nexium was that kind of that celebrity cult. There was lots of celebrities in it, and you know, just like with all these cults, they would do what the leader had told them to do. And I know that they were getting branded and they were getting abused, and you know, a lot of them were okay with it. And I think that's actually, I think it was about 2017 that they found out what was going on, and they, you know, it came out, and there was, you know, lots of different movies and things like that on it, documentaries. But it might still be a thing. I'm not entirely sure, honestly. And the most recent transit of 2014, 2015, So what was going on at that time? So on June 16th, 2015, Donald Trump came down that gold escalator and pretty much began the MAGA movement. So people look at that like, I had to add it in because people look at that like it's a cult. So he came down and really just gained this movement, and people just, became just his flock, and you saw him just rising, and they said, pretty much he could do no wrong. And now we have this MAGA movement and ultra MAGA and all this stuff. So that one's still going on. So we don't know what's going to happen with that one still. Maybe something will come up within this transit. So we'll see. So it's pretty crazy. Now, of course, I don't think that all Jupiter in Leo is all about cults and, leaders doing horrible things to people and taking advantage of people. But it really does make a lot of sense when you think about it, because look at these people that when they come to power, this is that fixed fire again, that Leo, and they refuse to go down, and they died of, or they have life in prison. So we had David Koresh, Jim Jones die. We have Warren Jeffs life in prison, and we've had, Donald Trump, kind of last one, I guess you still call that a cult, pretty much constantly being brought, different charges against him, impeached, all this stuff, but he again is refusing to go down. He is putting up that fight. So kind of fun little side note that I don't think a lot of astrologers are going to be talking about with this transit, but I found it fascinating. So I hope you guys did too. Definitely something to look into. So now let's look at how this will affect you on a personal level. So we're going to go through all the signs. We're going to begin with Aries. And Aries, you will have this in your 5th house. So this is Aries rising. I usually go with the rising signs. You can also use your sun sign as well if you don't know your rising sign. So Aries, this will be happening in your 5th house. It's all about creativity. Your creativity is just flourishing, and you just feel like anything you do turns to gold. And you could be painting, you could be crafting, you could be whatever, and you love to show off what you can do and the products that you're making and everything else. Motorcycle going by. And this can even expand your social circle, as you might join classes, you might have classes showing how you do these things, and with this growing passion that you have, that you just want to show others and teach others, and say like, I want to pass my information down to everybody else. So you also might begin dating somebody new and exciting, and they might teach you some new ways of spirituality that you get into. Maybe they're into yoga and it gets you into yoga. Maybe they're different culture and you kind of expand that horizon into different cultures. It's very 5th house and very Jupiter. So dating, lots of fun, entertaining, exciting stuff happening. Also, children, perhaps. If you have Jupiter transiting your 5th house, it's a great transit if you are trying to get pregnant. And, maybe even if it's to strengthen a relationship that you have with your children. Maybe you've had a falling out with some of your children or child, and this is a good time to really strengthen that relationship. And it brings that good fortune, it brings that luck, and brings that just a little more positivity, so that you can mend fences, or maybe you can get pregnant, or maybe you can start making maybe some money off of the things that you create. So that is with Aries. So next we move into our 4th house. So if you are a Taurus rising sign, this is going to be in your 4th house. This could be expanding on maybe your heritage, for instance, looking into your heritage a little bit more. Maybe your family is planning a huge family reunion and you have to travel to get there, and it's going to be at this totally cool place, so you're traveling to meet up with everybody. Maybe it's also improving relationships with your family. Maybe you haven't seen them in a long time. Maybe they've been a little bit distant. Maybe they live across the country, and you're improving those relationships that you have with them while you can. So now's the time maybe to jump on a plane and go out and visit. Maybe kind of mend fences with your parents if you've had some outs. It can also be improving in your own home, so where you live, so adding on, upgrading, maybe upgrading your appliances, you get new better ones, you're sick of the old crappy ones you have. Kind of wish I had it in my fourth because I just don't like my fridge. I'd like to get an improved one, but so overall, an improvement in your home life. You feel fortunate and you want to show off. You want to show off the work that you put into your home. Maybe, you did a lot of upgrades, or maybe you bought a fixer-upper that is fixed up and you want to show it off. So invite friends, start hosting a dinner party or host the holidays, because you want to just have that pride and say, like, look at what we've done, and just, show off how proud you are of the things that you've accomplished. Next, we move into the sign of Gemini. If you're a Gemini rising, you have this in your third house. So in your third house, you love making connections, and you're a Gemini. So talking, conversating with people, learning all you can about people. You build these connections, but within your community, really your close-knit community. Standing out as that community voice, maybe going to town hall meetings and standing up for your neighbors in your neighborhood. Maybe you guys are like, we need to get our roads fixed, and you're the one that stands up and stands out, and kind of you're that voice of the community. It also can be spending time with your neighbors, improving the relationship you have with them. Maybe you have that neighbor that you border, and you're always battling about, oh, his yard's not great, or blah, blah, blah. So maybe it's time that you mended some fences with them, and maybe kind of had a little bit improvement there. So maybe, extend that olive branch, bring over some cookies, and, just kind of say, look, let's try and be friends. So just really kind of bringing that positivity and optimism into a relationship instead of the negativity. So also this can be seen with cousins and siblings. The same thing, maybe building relationships with them. Maybe you discover a sibling that you never knew you had before, maybe a couple, who knows, and then you meet them and you start a relationship with them. Also cousins, maybe again, just like with that fourth house, if you have cousins that you haven't seen in a long time, maybe it's a good time to, jump on a plane, travel to see them, kind of meet up somewhere, and just have some nice, good, wholesome fun. Next, we have Cancer. So this is going to be in your second house if you're a Cancer rising. So this is really about appreciating what you have and finding value in all that you have accumulated and accomplished, the money that you've earned, the wealth that you've gained, and you want to show off your accomplishments. You want to show that, like, I'm doing well. So maybe you want to buy a little bit nicer car, or a little bit nicer, Louboutin shoes or something like that. Just show off that, like, yeah, I'm doing well and I'm proud of that. Of course, don't go overboard, because there's that Jupiter can expand, and you don't want to go and buy, a $1 million car when you can afford a $25,000 car. So, you want to keep it, without expanding too much. Also, this really shows because Cancer, things passed down from ancestors are really cherished. Cancer is a lot about family and, those fourth house topics as well. So it ties all that in together. And these things mean so much, that they are so special to you because they have that meaning, that family meaning behind them. And this also shows your soft side a little bit. It's what your heart needs. And you want to protect these things, like, with everything you have, because you don't want anything to happen to them. These are your prized possessions. These are things that could never be replaced. Maybe it's photographs that have been passed down of your grandparents that when they were young, or something that you could never get back. So you want to protect them. You want to have that shell so you can protect those things that you hold most dear. Next, we move on to Leo. So obviously this will be in your first house. So this is improving on you, putting yourself out there, taking risks to better yourself, to grow your self-esteem, to grow that pride in yourself. And maybe you can even be that leader and build your self-confidence and be like, I am ready to take on the world. And, you want to start that following. You want to, have people look at you like, not like a cult leader, but, you don't want to go that far. Anyway, next is Virgo in the 12th house. So if you're Virgo rising, it's going to be in your 12th house. Now, this is going to be a little bit more challenging of a transit. Yes, it's Jupiter, which is a positive planet, but it's that benefic. But also, like I said, there's a shadow side. So in these more negative houses, these could be a little bit more challenging. This is kind of learning more about you. And as a Virgo, you really tend to be so self-critical. But it's time that you just stop like that picking on yourself, and just try to overcome this. Try to look at yourself positively. Try to see the good in yourself, and maybe become a little more spiritual so that you have a little bit wider range of optimism. So you're not just looking at, oh, my house isn't clean enough. Oh, I'm not thin enough. I'm not fat enough. I'm not whatever enough. Stop looking at those and just see the bigger picture. And it can be also a time that you're looking for that light to follow, because you might feel a little bit alone, and you might be kind of maybe in your shell at home, kind of, being that recluse. But maybe you're looking for that light to follow. So maybe looking for that somebody to come and pull you out of that where you are. But you also want to be aware of when that light becomes a little too bright and blinding. So next we have Libra, and this is going to be happening in your guys' 11th house. So this is really expanding your social circle for your own benefit, because expanding your social circle kind of adds a little bit more that could really give you a boost in your own life. It can be a boost in your self-esteem, or maybe making a connection with somebody that can really open doors and expand your opportunities. Or may even want to help use your successes to help other people. Teach them what they need to do to succeed, and be that light for other people. Be that mentor. Libra is generous, and they want to share in their success. So be that mentor, be that person that helps somebody else and gives them that leg up. Next, we have Scorpio in the 10th. So for Scorpio, this is going to be in your 10th house. This is a house of career. So this is about climbing that ladder. Look for those opportunities to start building, start climbing, to start showing yourself off. Good fortune is coming your way, maybe with a new or better career opportunities. Use this time again to stand out, to show your accomplishments, take pride in them. Be sure everybody knows about them. You don't want to keep them secret. You want to be like proud and show like, I did this and I made this connection. I got this new contact. I did this. Whatever it is that you do, show it off. Don't let the opportunities slip by when they're presented to you. You want to have faith in yourself, in the reputation that you've built, and you want to take those opportunities when they're offered to you. So next we have Sagittarius in your 9th house. This is going to be, so this is travel. Jupiter's travel, 9th house travel, Sagittarius travel. So maybe you're moving abroad, maybe you're just traveling around the country, maybe you just decide to be a gypsy and just live in tents and backpack all across Europe. So Sagittarius is non-complacent of pretty much any other sign, and if that opportunity comes along, you're just gonna go for it. You may also meet somebody from another country or a religion during these excursions that you might be on. You might learn a new culture, you might learn new customs, and you love learning new things, and you love to just take in all this information and expand. And like, I know so much about everything, and so just expand your horizon. Maybe you want to move to someplace new. If you have an opportunity, say you work remote, why not give it a try? You only live once, right? You know, it doesn't hurt, especially like I said, if you work from home, if you're one of these remote workers, I say get up and do it. Why not, right? You know, seize the day. So next we have Capricorn. This is going to be in your 8th house. So again, this might be a little tougher. This is a difficult house. You may, you know, gain maybe some good fortune, but it could be from a loss. So say an inheritance, for instance. So you could lose somebody that's dear to you, but you could gain, you know, financially because of it. Inherit, you know, who know, car, home, whatever. And so it could be that gain through death. So you could have to go through pain to come out a little bit better off. Also, debt and taxes might see an increase. So your debt could go up. You could be, you know, overspending. Notice that your debt is up. You know, house taxes, gas prices, you know, this all could be going up. So you could see an increase in all this as well. So you may also see an you know, expanded interest in maybe the occult and the occult sciences, maybe learning skills, showing off. Maybe if you're into astrology, tarot cards, Reiki healing, maybe you start going to these conventions and doing readings for people and kind of just showing off what you have learned and what you do. Could be, you know, really beneficial to you. Maybe you could start making money that way. So there can be some positives that come out of it. Doesn't just because it's in a bad house doesn't mean it's always going to be bad. Aquarius will be in the 7th house. So this is relationship status just levels up. So, you know, you and your partner are growing stronger, maybe more devoted to each other, maybe talking about making things permanent, commitments. You may enter into also a new partnership that can help you grow, perhaps maybe a business venture that you go into together, an idea that you have, or an invention that somebody kind of gives you a boost. Maybe they give you the money to invest. Maybe they invest in this idea or opportunity that you have, or maybe you do the same thing. Also, this can be maybe a humanitarian partnership, helping others, animals, whatever, will get you to stand out as a true role model. Lastly, we have Pisces in the 6th house. This is health and health issues. So 6th house, again, not the best house in the world. Can be good or bad here. So it really depends on how good you take care of yourself. If you already have health issues, it might exacerbate them, make them a little bit worse. But maybe you're going all in on a fitness routine, weight training, running, whatever. It's like, I'm going to be the fastest runner. I'm going to run a marathon, and this is what you're working for. I'm going to be a muscle person, weight, I can't think of what they're called. Anyway, so maybe you just put your all into this and you just want to be successful. You want to be that star. You want to be like the best. You want to win that 5K that your town is putting on. Also, this is in your workplace. Show that you're a good, generous coworker. Help boost productivity at work and really drive your team to lead them to be successful and to want to be successful and not to be lackadaisical, but drive them, you know, give them that optimism that like, let's do this. Let's be this team. Let's work together and make this happen. And it will help all of you in the long run and the business itself. But it can also be a time, again, where health issues can grow. So you want to be sure that you're taking care of yourself. So if you already had some issues, you want to keep them in check. So maybe get a checkup, get a physical, all of it. Just, you know, be better safe than sorry. So wherever this falls in your chart, wherever this falls in your life, you want to be that shining light to yourself. You want to be that beacon to somebody in need. Build your self-confidence, help them build theirs. Look for bigger and better opportunities for things that could be coming your way, so doors that could be opening for you. Look for that good fortune. It could be right there. You don't want to miss it. So I want to thank you all for watching. If you like this video, please hit the like button and of course subscribe. Trying to put out lots of fun and interesting videos. We have the summer solstice coming up, so if you're into any of the Wiccan wheel of the year, have a whole playlist about that, so that's going to be a lot of fun. Really interesting stuff, the way all that blends in with astrology. I love learning about it. Also, so you want to subscribe and you want to also get notified of future videos. You don't want to miss anything. I try and do at least 1 or 2 videos a week, and maybe a short if there's something important I need to talk about. So hit that bell. You don't want to miss a thing. So let me know also your thoughts in the comments about this upcoming transit through Leo. What are you looking forward to? What are you afraid of? So just go forward though with peace in your mind, positivity in your words, and optimism, a loving heart, and really have that faith in yourself. You can do anything, and I will see y'all soon. Bye.